I want to start off by thanking everybody who liked, subscribed, and commented on the first video. The response was overwhelmingly positive. I was surprised by that because I've never done a video like this before. This is new to me, so I appreciate all the kind words. One quick item from the first video, I pointed out this part. Several people asked me what it was. This is the factory ignition switch that comes on these old Suzukis. One thing I want to point out about this brake stay. So the swing arm side of the brake stay uses a shouldered bolt. You want to make sure if you don't have this bolt that you use something with a similar shoulder. I've seen people replace this with just any old bolt, and the brake stay will rock back and forth and it will actually chew the aluminum flange out. And in popped my assistant, straight out of the bathtub, trying to hide from his mother and avoid bedtime.
There we go. Keep pulling down?
Yep.
I can do one finger.
One finger?
Yeah,
No way.
That's crazy, right?
That is crazy. When removing the rear suspension on these, I recommend doing it in this order. Here I've placed a screwdriver between the swing arm and the chain slide. This allows the bolt which connects the swing arm to the cushion lever to slide out without hanging up on the slide. Next, remove the nut from the lower shock bolt. After you remove that nut, you can lift the rear swing arm and then slide the lower shock bolt out of the cushion arm. Don't forget the shock reservoir. Did you get that bolt out of there yet?
Nope.
It sure is a good thing I don't pay you by the hour.
Pay me. Is this the right way, Dad?
Yep. I put it on there like this. There you go. Is it pretty loose?
Only $2,000.
I owe you $2,000.
Yeah.
For what?
For doing that.
For taking out 2 bolts?
Yeah.
That seems a little steep, don't you think?
Well, then owe
What, do you work at a Polaris dealership?
me. No.
Then you can proceed to remove the bolt from the top of the shock. With that removed, you can take the shock completely out of the frame. At this point, you can remove the swing arm pivot bolt. Once that's removed, you can take the swing arm out of the frame, leaving you with just the cushion lever. While looking at the cushion arm, make sure you note the direction the bolt goes through the frame and the cushion arm. If you do not put this bolt back in the same direction, things won't go back together the way they should. Let's talk about these old air boxes for a minute. As you can see, this nut is shoved into this plastic flange. These flanges are molded into these air boxes. The plastic, you know, it's pushing 30 years old, so it's fairly brittle. One of the things you don't want to do is crank on these, especially if you have an air box that's in good shape and you plan on reusing it. Here I'm using a pair of needle nose pliers to prevent the nut from spinning around in the plastic. You don't want that nut spinning around in there as it could easily tear one of these flanges off of your air box. Now we got that one. Once I crack these loose, if I can do them by hand, I like to do them by hand. Luckily I was able to get the 2 right-hand side bolts out of the air box. Ooh, I don't like the way this one feels. This bolt's really important to get out because you can actually slide these air boxes forward if you get this bolt out. This top bolt proved to be rather difficult. So here I'm taking a pair of needle nose and I'm applying pressure between the frame and the nut in order to keep the nut from spinning around inside the plastic flange. Once you have this front bolt out of the airbox, if you have the sides cracked loose, you don't have to take them out completely, but just enough loose, you can actually pull the airbox forward and those nuts will slide out, and then you'll be able to remove the airbox. With the LT500, you have to remove the suspension in order to get the airbox out. Keep that in mind when you're reassembling if you plan on running an airbox. Our airbox here, well, I think there was something living in it. Another thing I want to point out is this big bolt that goes through the center of the frame and through the bottom of the engine. This is one of the engine bolts that holds everything in place, and I'm unaware of any of the aftermarket bolt kits that will provide you this bolt in the kit. Do yourself a favor when you're working with any of these Phillips screws on these bikes. Make sure that you use the correct Phillips bit for the screw head. Don't show up here with some number 2 drywall bit and then hit that screw head and expect it to come out. You're going to strip the screw head out and you're going to cause yourself a bunch of work. I guess when you want to be really secure, you put a tie wrap around the end of it. Looks like that's going to need a little bit of attention. So as you can see by what's sitting on my bench, I was able to get the frame tore down, the engine out. The frame's ready to go to the sandblaster. The engine's ready to be tore down. Engine teardown will begin in episode 4. We'll get a chance to tear into this motor, see what kind of wallet vampires exist. I have a feeling we're looking at a metal Pandora's box, but we'll find out then. The frame, before we send it out to be sandblasted, I'm going to do in episode 3 a comparison video between the different years of the LT500. The first model year, which was 1987, has some things that are unique to the 1987 model. The 88 through 90, they made some changes in 88 that carried over through all 3 years. Really, in those 3 years, the only thing that changed were the graphics. Back in the day, we referred to it as the B&G update, the bold new graphics. I mean, Yamaha did that with the Banshee for like 20 years. I think they did one update on the front A-arms, and then after that, it was nothing but new stickers and colors. I'll be posting this video on the last day of 2020. Thank God that's over with. We'll see you again in 2021, and things can only get better from here, right? Maybe? No? Thumbs down? Well, guess we're going to get to find out. Talk to you guys later.